Execute Order 66. The transmission goes out across the galaxy. On 100 worlds, clone troopers raise their weapons. Jedi Masters fall. Padawans die. The temple burns. This is the end of everything. Except Anakin Skywalker feels it. Every death. Every scream in the Force. Thousands of lights going out all at once. And he's standing in Palpatine's office, Mace Windu's body cooling at his feet, realizing what he's done. What have I done? 3 words that change the galaxy. Because in that moment, Anakin doesn't kneel. He doesn't pledge himself to Darth Sidious. He doesn't become Vader. Instead, he ignites his lightsaber and points it at the man who manipulated him for 13 years. "Stop it," he says. "Stop the order, now." Palpatine smiles that terrible smile. His yellow Sith eyes gleam. "Oh my boy," he says. "The clones don't serve me because I command them. They serve me because they were programmed to. Order 66 cannot be stopped. The Jedi are already dead, but Palpatine is wrong. He's underestimated the Chosen one final time." Anakin reaches out through the Force, not with hate but with desperation, touching every clone trooper he's ever fought beside. Breaking their programming, shattering the inhibitor chips, freeing them one mind at a time. It's killing him. Blood pours from his nose. His vision blurs. Every nerve in his body screams. But he doesn't stop. Because every second he holds on is another Jedi who survives. Another friend who lives. Another chance to fix his mistake. This is the story of how one choice in one moment saved the Jedi Order. How Anakin Skywalker stood on the edge of becoming Darth Vader and pulled himself back. How Order 66, the plan that should have wiped out 10,000 Jedi in minutes, was stopped by the man who helped start it. This is what happens when the Chosen One chooses the light at the last possible second, and nothing in the galaxy will ever be the same. Palpatine's smile fades. His yellow Sith eyes narrow. "Anakin, you don't understand what you're doing. The Jedi are dangerous. They would have destroyed everything we've built. Everything I promised you. I can still save Padme, but only if you stand with me." But Anakin shakes his head. The pain in the Force is overwhelming, but it's also clarifying. He sees now what he couldn't see before. Palpatine manipulated him, used his fear of losing Padme, used his anger at the Council, used his attachment to create a weapon, and Anakin fell for it. He killed Mace Windu. He betrayed everything he believed in. But he can still stop this. He has to stop this. I said stop the order. Anakin repeats, his voice harder now. "You're going to broadcast a countermand to every clone in the galaxy. You're going to tell them Order 66 was a mistake. Or I'm going to cut you down right here." Palpatine laughs, a cold sound that echoes through the ruined office. "Oh, my boy, you still don't understand. The clones don't serve me because I command them. They serve me because they were programmed to. The inhibitor chips in their brains override everything. Loyalty, friendship, even free will. There is no countermand. Order 66 cannot be stopped. The Jedi are already dead, but Palpatine is wrong. He's underestimated Anakin Skywalker one final time, because Anakin is the Chosen One, the most powerful Force user in the galaxy, and he's connected to every living thing through the Force, including the clone troopers. He reaches out, not with his mind but with his heart, with the light side of the Force that he's ignored for so long. He finds Captain Rex first, his friend, his brother, standing on some distant world with his blaster aimed at a Jedi. Anakin pushes into Rex's mind, not controlling him, but breaking through the programming, shattering the inhibitor chip's hold. "Rex," Anakin calls through the Force, "don't do this, fight it." "You're stronger than their programming." On that distant world, Rex's finger tightens on the trigger, but something in his head cracks. He hears Anakin's voice, feels a presence in his mind that's warm and familiar and true. The fog that descended when he heard Order 66 begins to lift. Rex stumbles, lowers his weapon, and looks at the Jedi in front of him with horror. "What was I doing?" he gasps. "Sir, I almost killed you." The Jedi, confused but alive, stares at the clone trooper who just saved his life instead of taking it. And across the galaxy, Anakin doesn't stop. He reaches further, finding every clone trooper he's ever fought beside, every member of the 501st Legion, every soldier he's commanded. One by one, he breaks their programming, frees them from the inhibitor chips, gives them back their free will. Palpatine senses what Anakin is doing and snarls. "Fool, you're killing yourself. That much power will destroy you." And he's right. The strain of reaching across the galaxy, of touching hundreds of thousands of minds simultaneously, is tearing Anakin apart. Blood runs from his nose. His vision blurs. Every muscle in his body screams in agony. But he doesn't stop. He can't stop. Because every second he maintains this connection is another Jedi who survives, another clone who breaks free, another life saved from his mistake. Obi-Wan Kenobi on Utapau ignites his lightsaber as Commander Cody and his troops open fire. The first few bolts nearly hit him before he deflects them, already calculating his escape, already knowing he's going to have to fight his way through men he considered friends. But then the firing stops. Cody clutches his head, stumbles, and when he looks up at Obi-Wan, his eyes are clear. "General," he says, his voice shaking. "Something's wrong. We just received an order to execute all Jedi. I don't know why I started to follow it." Obi-Wan stares at him, lightsaber still active, trying to understand what just happened. The other clones are lowering their weapons too, looking confused and horrified. In the Jedi Temple, the 501st Legion marches up the steps, weapons ready. The temple guards meet them at the entrance, lightsaber pikes igniting in defense of the sacred halls. But before the battle can begin, before Anakin's own Legion can become the executioners of everyone he's ever known, they stop. Every clone trooper in the 501st freezes mid-step. Their weapons lower. Some of them collapse, overwhelmed by the sudden return of their own minds. Inside the temple, Jedi Masters sense a disturbance in the Force, something massive and powerful and desperate. Master Yoda, deep in meditation, opens his eyes. "Skywalker," he whispers. "Saving us he is, on Kashyyyk." Yoda's clone troopers raise their weapons toward the ancient Jedi Master. But Yoda is already moving, his lightsaber a blur of green light, deflecting the first volley of shots. He's preparing to flee, to disappear into the forests and escape this betrayal, when the clones suddenly stop firing. They look at each other in confusion, then at Yoda with something like shame. "Master Yoda," one of them says, "we don't understand. We were ordered to kill you, but we don't want to. Something's wrong with us." Yoda lowers his lightsaber, reaching out through the Force, and he feels it. Anakin, burning like a star in the Force, pouring everything he has into saving the Jedi Order. "Powerful the boy is," Yoda murmurs. "More powerful than any of us knew. But Anakin is dying. His body can't sustain this level of Force usage. His heart is racing dangerously fast. His lungs struggle to draw breath. The dark side whispers that he could sustain this if he just gave in. If he used his anger and his hate to fuel the power instead of burning himself out with the light." Palpatine sees his apprentice weakening and strikes. Force lightning erupts from his fingertips, not a test or a warning, but a killing blow. The electricity slams into Anakin, and for a moment his concentration breaks. Across the galaxy, some clones slip back under the control of their chips and fire. Some Jedi die in that instant. The ones Anakin couldn't quite reach. The ones too far away or too isolated. But Anakin doesn't fall. The lightning courses through him, agony beyond anything he's ever experienced. But he channels it. He takes that pain, that dark side energy, and transforms it through the Force, pushing it out to every clone he's connected to, using Palpatine's own power against him. The inhibitor chips in thousands of clone troopers overload and burn out, destroyed by the feedback. The clones are free, truly free. Not just temporarily released from programming, but permanently liberated from the control Palpatine built into them. Palpatine realizes his mistake too late. He's poured his power into killing Anakin, but in doing so, he's destroyed his own contingency plan. Order 66 is broken. The clone army, his perfect executioners, are no longer under his control. And Anakin Skywalker, despite the lightning burning through him, despite the pain and the exhaustion, is still standing, still fighting, still choosing the light. "Impossible," Palpatine hisses. "You should be dead. You should be mine." Anakin smiles through the pain. It's a terrible smile, bloodied and defiant. "You were wrong about me," he says. "I'm not your weapon. I'm the chosen one, and I choose the light." He raises his hand and pushes. Not with physical strength, but with the Force, with every remaining scrap of power in his body. Palpatine is thrown backward, crashing through his office window, tumbling into the Coruscant night. For a moment, he's simply falling, the most powerful Sith Lord in 1,000 years, reduced to a body plummeting toward the city below. But Palpatine is not so easily defeated. He arrests his fall with the Force, levitating in midair, and looks back up at the shattered window where Anakin stands. "This isn't over, boy," he snarls. "You've bought the Jedi a few more hours, but I am the Senate. I am the Republic. The galaxy is already mine, and nothing you can do will change that." Then Palpatine vanishes, using the Force to propel himself away. "Master Kenobi," Commander Cody says, his voice shaking, "I need you to understand something. I tried to kill you. We all did. We received an order, and something in our heads made us follow it, made us want to follow it. But then something broke, like someone reached into my mind and shattered whatever was controlling me. It was Skywalker, wasn't it? He saved us from ourselves. Obi-Wan looks at his longtime commander, sees the horror and guilt in Cody's eyes, and makes a decision. You're not responsible for what you were programmed to do, but we need to figure out what happened and make sure it can't happen again. And we need to get to Coruscant. Now. In the Jedi Temple, the Council convenes an emergency session. Not all of them are present. Some are dead, killed before Anakin's intervention. Some are still scattered across the galaxy, racing back to the capital. But those who remain are trying to understand the scope of what just happened. Master Yoda arrives from Kashyyyk, having commandeered a ship and traveled at maximum speed. Master Windu is dead. We know this. Yoda says gravely. Killed by Skywalker, Senator Amidala has confirmed. But the boy redeemed himself. Saved the order, he did, at great cost to himself. The question is why Anakin killed Mace Windu in the first place. That information comes from Padme, who stays by Anakin's side as Jedi healers work to save his life. She tells the Council everything Anakin confessed to her in his barely conscious state. The visions of her death, Palpatine's promises to teach him how to save her, the revelation that Palpatine is Darth Sidious, the manipulation that led Anakin to betray Mace Windu, and his choice, in the crucial moment after, to stop Order 66 instead of following Palpatine into darkness. The Council listens in stunned silence. They knew Palpatine was a threat, suspected he had too much power, but a Sith Lord, the Supreme Chancellor himself, and Anakin knew and killed Mace to save Padme, and then chose to save the Order instead. It's Obi-Wan who speaks the truth they're all thinking. Anakin fulfilled the prophecy. He brought balance to the Force, not by destroying the Sith, not in the way we expected, but by choosing the light in his darkest moment. He was standing at the precipice, one step away from becoming Vader, from becoming Palpatine's apprentice and enforcer. But he pulled back. He chose us. He chose the Jedi even after we doubted him, even after we pushed him away. And in doing so, he saved us all. The Council members look at each other. Some are grateful. Some are conflicted knowing that Anakin killed Mace Windu, that his actions set Order 66 in motion even if he stopped it. But all of them recognize that without Anakin's sacrifice, they would all be dead. The Republic itself is in chaos. News of the attempted Jedi purge has spread across the holonet. Some systems believe Palpatine's initial story, that the Jedi tried to overthrow the government and the clones were defending democracy. But Senator Amidala's message, combined with testimony from clone troopers who remember trying to kill their Jedi generals, creates doubt. The Senate convenes an emergency session, but Palpatine is missing. His office is destroyed. There's blood everywhere, evidence of a massive force battle, and Mace Windu's body is found on the streets below, having fallen from the Chancellor's window. The pieces start coming together. Bail Organa and Mon Mothma lead the investigation. They demand a full accounting of the Chancellor's activities, access to his private records, testimony from his closest advisors. What they discover is damning. Hidden communications with separatist leaders, financial records showing he funded both sides of the war, classified files about something called the Clone Protocol, specifically Order 66, a contingency to execute all Jedi, and references to Sith teachings, to Darth Sidious, to a plan spanning decades to destroy the Jedi and transform the Republic into an empire. The evidence is undeniable. Chancellor Palpatine was a traitor, a Sith Lord, and he nearly succeeded in destroying everything the Republic stood for. But Palpatine himself has disappeared. He's somewhere in Coruscant's endless cityscape, hidden, planning his next move. He underestimated Anakin Skywalker, but he's not defeated. He still has resources, still has followers, still has the dark side of the Force. The empire he dreamed of may be delayed, but it's not impossible. He just needs time to regroup, to find a new apprentice, to begin again. But the galaxy is no longer ignorant of the threat he poses. The Jedi are hunting him. The Senate has declared him a traitor. Even some of the clone army, freed from their programming, are searching for the man who tried to turn them into murderers. Anakin wakes up 3 days after stopping Order 66. He's in the Jedi Temple's healing ward, surrounded by medical equipment and Jedi healers. Padme is asleep in a chair beside his bed, her hand holding his. Obi-Wan stands by the window, looking out at the Coruscant skyline. When Anakin stirs, Obi-Wan turns. "Hello there," he says softly. You've been asleep for quite a while. We were worried you wouldn't wake up. Anakin tries to sit up, but pain lances through his entire body. The strain of what he did, channeling that much Force energy, has damaged him in ways that will take months to heal. Every nerve feels like it's on fire. His connection to the Force is muted, exhausted. I killed Mace, Anakin says, his voice raw. I betrayed everything. How many Jedi died because I didn't stop Palpatine sooner? Obi-Wan sits down on the edge of the bed. 73, he says quietly. 73 Jedi died in the initial moments of Order 66 before you broke the programming. It's a tragedy. Each one of those lives is a loss we'll mourn. But without you, all 10,000 Jedi would be dead. The Order would be extinct. You made a terrible mistake, Anakin. You let your fear control you, and Mace Windu paid the price. But you also made the hardest choice any Jedi has ever had to make. You pulled yourself back from the dark side at the last possible moment and saved us all. That doesn't erase what you did, but it matters. What happens to me now? Anakin asks. Does the Council expel me? Execute me. I wouldn't blame them. Obi-Wan shakes his head. The Council is divided. Some want to punish you for Mace's death. Others argue that you were manipulated by a Sith Lord and that your actions in stopping Order 66 demonstrate your commitment to the light. Yoda has proposed a middle path. You'll face trial for your actions, but the Council will advocate for mercy, given the circumstances and your sacrifice. You'll probably be stripped of your rank, possibly expelled from the Order, but you'll live, and Padme will be there through all of it. She hasn't left your side since she found you in Palpatine's office. As Anakin recovers, the galaxy continues to reel from the revelation of Palpatine's betrayal. The Clone Wars, which seemed on the verge of ending, enters a strange new phase. The Separatist leadership, learning that their movement was orchestrated by the same Sith Lord who led the Republic, fractures. Some want to continue fighting, believing that even if Palpatine manipulated them, the cause of independence is still just. Others sue for peace, no longer willing to die for a lie. The droid armies, without clear leadership, power down on some worlds and continue fighting on others. It's chaos, but it's a different kind of chaos than the organized genocide Palpatine planned. The clone troopers themselves face an identity crisis. The inhibitor chips are being surgically removed from every clone in the Grand Army, a massive medical operation that takes months. But the damage is done. These men, bred to be loyal soldiers, were turned into weapons against their friends and comrades. Some clones, like Captain Rex, are determined to move forward, to prove that they're more than their programming. Others are consumed by guilt for what they almost did, what some of them did do before Anakin freed them. There are clone suicides. There are clones who desert, unable to face the Jedi they betrayed. And there are clones who demand justice, who want to find Palpatine and make him pay for what he did to them. The Jedi Order begins the painful process of accounting for its losses and rebuilding. 73 dead, including Mace Windu, one of the greatest Jedi Masters in generations. It could have been so much worse, but it's still devastating. Funeral rites are held. Names are added to the memorial wall, and difficult questions are asked. How did they not see Palpatine's true nature? How did they become so entangled with the Republic military that they were vulnerable to Order 66? What changes need to be made to ensure this never happens again? Yoda, more than anyone, wrestles with these questions. He blames himself for the Order's blindness, for their rigid adherence to tradition, for pushing Anakin away when the young man needed guidance most. Anakin's trial before the Jedi Council is held 6 weeks after Order 66. He's still weak, still recovering from the damage he did to himself, but he insists on standing for it. The charges are read: murder of Jedi Master Mace Windu, conspiracy with a Sith Lord, betrayal of the Jedi Code. The evidence is presented. Anakin doesn't dispute any of it. He killed Mace, he listened to Palpatine. He fell to the dark side, if only for a few minutes. But then the defense is presented. Anakin's actions in stopping Order 66, his sacrifice burning himself out to save the Order. Testimony from Jedi across the galaxy who are alive because of him. Testimony from clone troopers who were freed from their programming. Padme, speaking on his behalf, explaining the manipulation Palpatine used, the visions of her death that drove Anakin to desperation. The Council deliberates for hours. When they return, Yoda speaks. They descend into the depths of Coruscant, into the levels where sunlight never reaches, where criminals and outcasts make their homes. Palpatine senses them coming and prepares. He may be alone, but he's the most powerful Sith Lord in 1,000 years. The confrontation happens in an abandoned industrial sector, miles beneath the surface. Palpatine stands in the shadows, his yellow eyes glowing, his presence in the Force like a black hole. "You've come to kill me," he says. How predictable. How Jedi. You think you're righteous, but you're just frightened. Frightened of power, frightened of the dark side, frightened of what you could become if you weren't so weak. Obi-Wan steps forward, his lightsaber ignited. "We're not here to listen to your philosophy, Sidious. We're here to bring you to justice." Palpatine laughs. Justice? There is no justice. There is only power, and I have more power than all of you combined. He attacks. Force lightning erupts in all directions. The industrial sector becomes a battleground, Jedi fighting with everything they have against a Sith Lord who's held the galaxy in his palm for over a decade. Palpatine is magnificent and terrible, his mastery of the dark side on full display. He kills 2 Jedi in the opening seconds, their bodies flung aside like ragdolls. He wounds 3 more with lightsaber strikes faster than the eye can follow. But the Jedi are not the same order that Palpatine manipulated for so long. They've learned from their failures. They fight together, coordinated, using the light side of the Force not for attack but for defense and unity. Obi-Wan's Soresu form creates an impenetrable defense. Plo Koon uses the Force to disrupt Palpatine's attacks. Ahsoka, young and fast, strikes from unexpected angles, and slowly, painfully they wear him down. Palpatine is powerful, but he's also old and alone. The dark side demands constant aggression, constant attack, and that drains him. The Jedi can take turns, support each other, heal each other. Palpatine has only himself. The end comes when Obi-Wan sees an opening. Palpatine overextends, committing too much to a lightning attack against Plo Koon. In that instant, Obi-Wan's blade comes down, severing Palpatine's hand. The Sith Lord screams, more in rage than pain. Ahsoka's blade is at his throat a moment later. "It's over," she says. "You've lost." Palpatine glares at her with pure hatred. "You think this is over? You think killing me will end the Sith? We are eternal. We are inevitable. Even if I fall, the dark side will rise again. There will always be those who crave power, who embrace their passions. The Jedi will fall eventually. Maybe not today, maybe not in your lifetime, but eventually. Because the light is weak, and the dark is strong." Obi-Wan looks at the man who orchestrated the Clone Wars, who manipulated Anakin, who nearly destroyed everything. He raises his lightsaber. "We know the dark side will always exist," he says. "We know there will always be those who choose it. But there will also always be those who choose the light. And as long as we make that choice, as long as we stand against the darkness, you've already lost." He brings his blade down, not to kill, but to disable. Palpatine's other hand is severed. His legs are crippled. He's rendered powerless, unable to use the Force without hands to channel it, unable to flee without legs to run. They take him into custody, a broken shell of the mighty Darth Sidious. The trial of Palpatine is the most significant legal proceeding in galactic history. He's charged with treason, war crimes, genocide, and conspiracy to overthrow the Republic. The evidence is overwhelming. His own records, seized from hidden sanctums across Coruscant. Testimony from Jedi, from clone troopers, from senators who finally understand the manipulation they endured. Even some of his former allies turn on him, desperate to save themselves. Palpatine defends himself, refusing legal representation, using the trial as a platform to espouse Sith philosophy. He claims he was trying to bring order to a chaotic galaxy, that the Jedi were the real threat, that everything he did was for peace. The Senate doesn't buy it. The verdict is unanimous. Guilty on all counts. The sentence is debated. Some senators want execution. Others argue for life imprisonment. The Jedi propose something different. They want Palpatine placed in a Force-suppressing stasis, suspended in a state where he can neither die nor use the Force, preserved as a warning to future generations about the dangers of the dark side. The Senate agrees. Palpatine is taken to a secret facility surrounded by Jedi wards and technological failsafes and placed in stasis. His last words before the suspension takes effect are a promise. "I will return." The Sith always return. But as the stasis field activates, as his consciousness is frozen, the galaxy breathes a sigh of relief. The Sith Lord who nearly destroyed them is finally defeated. With Palpatine captured and Order 66 stopped, the Clone Wars finally end. The Separatist movement collapses without the Sith Lord orchestrating both sides. Peace treaties are signed. Occupied worlds are liberated. The droid armies are deactivated and dismantled. It's not a clean ending. There are remnants of the Separatist military who continue fighting, warlords who carve out their own territories in the chaos. But the galaxy-spanning war is over. The Republic survives, though it's changed. The emergency powers granted to Palpatine are revoked. Constitutional reforms are passed to prevent any one individual from accumulating so much authority. A new chancellor is elected, Mon Mothma, committed to transparency and democratic principles. The clone army faces an uncertain future. With the war over, the Senate debates whether to maintain a standing army or demobilize. The clones themselves, now individuals with free will rather than programmed soldiers, have opinions. Some want to continue serving, to prove that they're more than weapons. Others want to leave, to discover who they are outside of combat. A compromise is reached. The clone army is reduced in size, transitioned to a volunteer force. Clones who want to leave are given citizenship, education, and assistance in finding civilian careers. Those who stay are paid as professional soldiers, not treated as property. It's not perfect, but it's a start. Anakin begins his exile on Naboo, in the Lake Country where he and Padme secretly married years ago. She goes with him, leaving her position in the Senate to be by his side. For the first few months, Anakin struggles. His connection to the Force is still damaged from what he did during Order 66. His body is healing slowly, and the guilt over Mace Windu's death haunts him. He has nightmares where Mace falls from that window over and over, where the Jedi he saved turn on him and demand to know why he didn't act sooner. Padme is patient, loving, helping him through the darkness that still lingers in his mind. "You're not Vader," she tells him one night when he wakes from a nightmare. "You didn't become the monster Palpatine wanted you to be. You chose the light. Hold on to that." Slowly, over months and then years, Anakin begins to heal, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. He meditates for hours each day, reconnecting with the Force, relearning how to use it without anger or fear. He works with his hands, building things, fixing broken machinery in the local villages, finding peace in creation rather than destruction. And he talks with Padme, really talks, about his childhood as a slave, about his mother's death, about his fear of loss that Palpatine exploited so completely. These conversations hurt, dragging up old wounds, but they're necessary. Anakin learns that acknowledging his darkness doesn't mean surrendering to it. He can be afraid and still choose courage. He can be angry and still choose compassion. During the 3rd year of his exile, Padme tells him she's pregnant. Twins, the medical droids confirm, a boy and a girl. Anakin's reaction is complex. Joy, certainly overwhelming joy at the thought of becoming a father. But also fear, the same fear that nearly destroyed him before. What if something happens to Padme during the birth? What if he loses her? What if the visions return? But this time, he doesn't hide his fear. He tells Padme everything. She holds him and reminds him that fear is natural, that loving someone means accepting the risk of loss, that he can't control everything, and most importantly, that she's not going to die. The medical care on Naboo is excellent. The war is over. There's no Sith Lord manipulating events. She'll be fine. They'll be fine. Luke and Leia are born healthy and Force-sensitive, 2 bright stars in the Force that every Jedi in the galaxy can sense. Anakin holds his children and weeps, overwhelmed by love and gratitude and the realization of what he nearly lost. If he had become Vader, if he had followed Palpatine into darkness, these children would have been born into an empire. They would have been hunted or corrupted or killed. But instead, they're here, safe, in a galaxy at peace. He names them after people who mattered to him. Luke for a friend who died early in the Clone Wars. Leia for Padme's favorite senatorial colleague. And he makes a promise to them, whispering it while they sleep. "I will never let the darkness take me. I will be the father you deserve." Obi-Wan visits Naboo several times during Anakin's exile. He's become a council member, one of the leaders working to reform the Jedi Order. The changes are significant. The prohibition on attachment is being reconsidered, reinterpreted to allow for healthy relationships while warning against possessive love. Jedi are encouraged to maintain connections with their birth families rather than being severed completely from their pasts. The council is more diverse, including younger voices like Ahsoka Tano who push for even. Obi-Wan brings news of the galaxy to Anakin. The Republic is stabilizing under Mon Mothma's leadership. The former separatist worlds are being reintegrated with guarantees of greater autonomy and representation. The economy is recovering from the war. There are still problems, still conflicts, but they're manageable now. No existential threats, no Sith conspiracies, just the normal challenges of governing a galaxy of trillions. And the Jedi Order is healing too. The trauma of Order 66 lingers, but they're processing it, learning from it, becoming stronger. Your sacrifice hasn't been forgotten, Obi-Wan tells Anakin. Every Padawan learns about what you did, how you pulled back from the dark side and saved us all. You're a symbol now, whether you want to be or not. As Anakin's 5-year exile draws to a close, he must decide whether to petition for readmission to the Order. Padme tells him the choice is his. She'll support whatever he decides. If he wants to remain on Naboo, raise their children away from the complications of Jedi life, she'll be happy. If he wants to return to Coruscant to try to reclaim his place in the Order, she'll come with him. Luke and Leia can be raised knowing both worlds, the political legacy of their mother and the Force tradition of their father. Anakin meditates on this decision for weeks. He consults with Yoda via holocall, with Obi-Wan during his visits, even with Ahsoka, who's become a regular correspondent. In the end, Anakin decides to return. Not because he needs to be a Jedi for his own validation, but because he believes he can help. He's lived through something no other Jedi has experienced. He's touched the dark side, felt its pull, and chosen to return to the light. That perspective, that understanding of how seductive darkness can be, could be valuable in training the next generation. He can teach Padawans what the old Order never taught him: how to acknowledge your darkness without being consumed by it, how to be afraid and still choose courage, how to love without attachment becoming possession. So 5 years after Order 66, Anakin Skywalker returns to Coruscant with his family. His petition for readmission to the Order is heard by the full council. He's changed in 5 years. Older, obviously, but also calmer, more centered, more at peace with himself. He speaks honestly about his failures, about killing Mace Windu, about the darkness that still exists within him. But he also speaks about his choice to stop Order 66, about the healing he's done in exile, about his desire to serve the light. The council deliberates. Some members remain skeptical. The wound of Mace's death is still fresh for many, but Yoda advocates for Anakin's readmission. Seen more of the dark side than any Jedi alive, Skywalker has, the Ancient Master says. Yet return to the light he did. Valuable! This experience is... Learn from it, the Order can. The Council's decision is conditional readmission. Anakin can return to the Order, but not as a knight. He'll retake his trials, prove himself again from the beginning. He'll study under Obi-Wan, almost like being a Padawan again, though his experience and power mean the training will be different. And he'll undergo regular evaluations to ensure the darkness doesn't return. Anakin accepts these conditions without hesitation. He doesn't need rank or recognition. He just wants to serve, to make amends, to use his second chance wisely. So begins the second act of Anakin Skywalker's life as a Jedi, not as the chosen one burdened by prophecy, but as a man who fell and climbed back up, who knows the dark and chooses the light every single day. His return to the Order coincides with major changes in how the Jedi operate. The temple on Coruscant remains the central hub, but satellite temples are being established on dozens of worlds. These smaller temples allow Jedi to be more integrated into the communities they serve, rather than isolated in a fortress on the capital. Anakin is assigned to work with one of these satellite temples, on a world in the Mid-Rim recovering from the Clone Wars. It's humbling work, far from the glory of the war. He mediates disputes between farmers. He helps repair infrastructure damaged by droid armies. He teaches local children about the Force, not training them as Jedi necessarily, but helping them understand their connection to the energy that binds all things. Padme establishes a school on Coruscant, using her experience and connections to create an institution that trains future leaders in ethics, diplomacy, and governance. The school explicitly teaches about Palpatine's rise to power, using it as a case study in how democracies can be subverted from within. Her students come from across the galaxy, many from worlds that suffered under the Clone Wars. She shows them that leadership is about service, not power, about lifting others up rather than climbing over them. Luke and Leia attend their mother's school while also receiving instruction in the Force from their father and other Jedi. They grow up balanced between two worlds, proof that Jedi and non-Jedi can coexist, that attachment and duty aren't mutually exclusive. Captain Rex becomes one of Anakin's closest friends during this period. The clone captain, now a free man with full citizenship, works as an advocate for clone rights and as an advisor to the Republic military. He and Anakin share a bond forged in war and trauma. They both know what it's like to be used by Palpatine, to have their agency stripped away. to make terrible choices under impossible circumstances. They meet regularly, sometimes just to talk, sometimes to work together on initiatives to help clone veterans integrate into civilian life. Rex tells Anakin about the clone who couldn't handle the guilt of Order 66 and took their own lives. About those who wake up screaming, trapped in nightmares where they're still pulling the trigger on their Jedi generals. Anakin listens and shares his own struggles with guilt and trauma. Two survivors, helping each other heal. Ahsoka Tano becomes a master on the Jedi Council, the youngest in the Order's history. Her path has been unconventional. She left the Order, returned, and now leads efforts to reform it from within. She and Anakin repair their relationship slowly. There's hurt there, wounds from when he didn't defend her during her trial before the war, when she felt abandoned by him. But Ahsoka sees how much he's changed, how much he's grown, and Anakin finally apologizes properly, not making excuses, just acknowledging that he failed her when she needed him. They don't return to the easy master-apprentice dynamic they had during the war. Their relationship is more equal now, two Jedi who've both walked difficult paths and emerged stronger. Ahsoka often consults with Anakin about council decisions, valuing his perspective as someone who's seen the absolute worst. The dark side offers and chose to turn away. The question of what to do about Palpatine's stasis chamber becomes a recurring debate in the Republic. Some argue he should remain frozen forever, a living warning. Others want him executed, believing that as long as he exists, he's a threat. The Jedi remain divided. Yoda argues for maintaining the stasis, saying that killing a helpless prisoner, even a Sith Lord, crosses a line the Jedi shouldn't cross. But some younger Jedi, those who lost friends and masters to Order 66, want him dead. They don't trust that the stasis will hold forever, don't believe any prison can contain a being as powerful as Sidious. Anakin, when asked his opinion, says something that surprises everyone. Let him live, not because he deserves mercy, but because killing him would be letting him win. He wanted to drag us into darkness, to make us compromise our principles. If we execute a helpless prisoner out of fear, we prove he was right about us. The stasis chamber becomes a memorial site. Jedi Padawans visit it as part of their training, to see the face of the enemy who nearly destroyed them, to understand the cost of complacency and arrogance. Anakin brings Luke and Leia there when they're old enough to understand. This is the man who manipulated me, he tells them, who exploited my fear and my love for your mother, who nearly turned me into a monster. I want you to see him so you understand that evil isn't always obvious. It can wear a kind face. It can offer you everything you want. And if you're not careful, if you don't acknowledge your own darkness, it can consume you. The twins look at the frozen Sith Lord and promise their father they'll remember. As years pass, the galaxy continues to heal. The scars of the Clone Wars fade slowly. Worlds rebuild. Populations recover. The generation that lived through the war ages, and a new generation grows up knowing peace. The Republic, reformed and strengthened by the lessons of Palpatine's conspiracy, proves more resilient and just than its predecessor. There are still problems, still corruption in some sectors, still conflicts that require mediation. But the fundamental structure is sound, power is distributed, authority is checked, and the memory of how close they came to tyranny keeps people vigilant. The Jedi Order flourishes in this new era. The reforms implemented after Order 66 create an order that's more flexible, more connected to ordinary people, more willing to admit mistakes and change course. Young Jedi are taught not just combat and force techniques, but ethics, philosophy, and the importance of understanding different perspectives. The old arrogance is gone, replaced by humility born of near extinction. Jedi serve the galaxy not because they believe they know best, but because they have unique abilities that can help. They're counselors, not commanders. Mediators, not generals. The role they should have been playing all along. Anakin eventually retakes his trials and is reinstated as a Jedi Knight. It happens quietly without fanfare in a Obi-Wan, watching Anakin with his family, with his students, sees the man his brother always could have been, if not for Palpatine's interference. There's still darkness in Anakin. There always will be. The fear, the anger, the capacity for terrible things. But now Anakin knows it's there. He acknowledges it, controls it, prevents it from controlling him. That's what balance means, Obi-Wan realizes. Not the absence of darkness, but the choice to not let it consume you. Anakin is balanced now in a way he never was before Order 66. The prophecy spoke of bringing balance to the Force. Maybe this is how it was always meant to be fulfilled. Not through destroying the Sith in a grand battle, but through one man's choice to stop a genocide, to save his family, to reject the easy path of power in favor of the hard path of redemption. Yoda lives to see the order he helped reform, stabilize, and grow. In his final years, he steps back from active leadership, allowing the new generation of masters like Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, and eventually Anakin to guide the Jedi forward. He spends his time in meditation and teaching, passing on wisdom to younglings, writing treatises on the Force that incorporate everything he learned from the Order's near destruction. When he finally passes into the Force at 925 years old, his last words are to Anakin. "Fulfilled the prophecy you have. Not as any of us expected, but in the way the Force intended. Proud of you I am. Saved us all, you did." And with those words, Yoda becomes one with the Force. His consciousness not dissolved, but transformed. Forever part of the cosmic energy that flows through all living things. The story of Order 66 and its failure becomes one of the defining moments in galactic history. Historians study it, artists depict it, philosophers debate its meaning. The dominant narrative that emerges is one of choice and redemption. Anakin Skywalker, standing on the precipice of darkness, chose the light. He sacrificed himself to save the Jedi Order. He proved that even someone touched by evil, manipulated by a Sith Lord, driven to murder by fear and desperation, can still turn back, can still choose good. This story inspires millions across the galaxy. Former criminals seeking redemption point to Anakin as proof that past mistakes don't have to define you. Veterans struggling with trauma see his journey as a path forward. Parents teaching their children about morality use him as an example that it's never too late to make the right choice. But within the Jedi Order, the story is taught with more nuance. Yes, Anakin saved them. Yes, he made the ultimate sacrifice, burning himself out to stop Order 66. But he also killed Mace Windu. He listened to a Sith Lord. He nearly fell completely. The lesson the Jedi teach isn't that Anakin was a perfect hero, but that he was a flawed man who made terrible mistakes and then made the hardest choice of his life to correct them. That's more powerful, more real, than any story of an unblemished hero. It teaches Padawans that they will make mistakes, that they will be tempted, that they will face moments where the wrong choice seems easier. But it also teaches them that those moments don't have to define them. Like Anakin, they can choose to turn back. Luke and Leia grow up aware of their father's complicated legacy. They know he saved the Jedi Order. They also know he killed a Jedi Master. They see the guilt he still carries, the nightmares he still has sometimes, the way he flinches when anyone mentions Mace Windu's name. But they also see his dedication to the light, his commitment to being better, his determination to make amends every single day. This shapes their understanding of morality and the Force. They learn that good and evil aren't simple categories, that people are complex, that redemption is possible but not easy. Luke becomes a Jedi, training under his father and eventually becoming a master himself. Leia chooses politics like her mother, but uses her Force sensitivity to enhance her work, becoming one of the Republic's greatest diplomats. The clone troopers who survived Order 66 and were freed by Anakin's intervention become a unique community within the Republic. They share a trauma that no one else can fully understand. They were made to be soldiers, used by a Sith Lord, turned into weapons against their friends, and then freed at the last moment. Many form support networks, helping each other adjust to civilian life, advocating for their rights, ensuring younger generations understand what was done to them. Captain Rex becomes their unofficial leader, representing clone interests in the Senate, pushing for legislation to support veterans, and working to ensure the Republic never again creates a slave army. The clone's story becomes another cautionary tale taught alongside Palpatine's conspiracy. The dangers of treating sentient beings as property, the moral cost of creating life for a specific purpose, the importance of recognizing personhood regardless of origin. Decades after Order 66, a young historian researching the Clone Wars makes a discovery in the Jedi archives. Hidden in Palpatine's seized records is a detailed contingency plan labeled Protocol Vader. It outlines what would have happened if Anakin had fully fallen to the dark side. The armor that would sustain his damaged body, the role he would play as the Emperor's enforcer, the terror he would spread across the galaxy. The plan even includes Force techniques Palpatine intended to teach him, ways to channel suffering and hatred into power. The historian brings this to the Council, and they decide to show it to Anakin. He's older now, gray at his temples but still strong in the Force. He reads the document in silence, his face growing paler with each paragraph. "This is what I would have become," he says finally. "Darth Vader, a monster in black armor, hunting Jedi, crushing rebellions, serving an empire built on suffering." The council members present say nothing. They've always known that Anakin made a crucial choice that day in Palpatine's office. But seeing the alternative laid out so explicitly makes the weight of that choice even more apparent. Anakin asks for a copy of the Protocol Vader document. He wants to use it in his teaching to show Padawans the path he didn't take, the darkness he rejected. The council agrees, though some worry it might be too disturbing. But Anakin is insistent. Students need to understand that the dark side isn't abstract. It's real. It has plans for you. It will use your best qualities, your love and your passion and your desire to help, and twist them into weapons. I need them to see what I almost became so they understand the stakes. So he begins including it in his lessons. He shows Padawans the Protocol Vader document and tells them his story. The visions of Padme's death, Palpatine's manipulation, the moment he killed Mace, the feeling of darkness coursing through him. And then the choice. The moment he felt the Jedi dying and decided to save them instead of following Palpatine. It's powerful teaching, and his students never forget it. As the first generation born after the Clone Wars comes of age, the galaxy seems genuinely peaceful. There are conflicts, of course. There always are, but nothing existential. No Sith conspiracies. No galactic wars. Just the normal challenges of a diverse civilization spanning thousands of worlds trying to coexist. The Jedi serve this galaxy not as warriors, but as peacemakers. They mediate disputes. They provide humanitarian aid. They train Force sensitives from countless cultures. And they remember, always remember, how close they came to extinction. That memory keeps them humble, keeps them connected to the people they serve, keeps them vigilant against the arrogance and complacency that made them vulnerable to Palpatine. Anakin lives to see his grandchildren, Luke's and Leia's children, third-generation Skywalkers who grow up in a galaxy their grandfather saved. They don't treat him like a legend or a hero. To them, he's just grandfather, the man who tells stories and teaches them to fix things, and occasionally demonstrates Force techniques that make their parents nervous. But sometimes, when the children ask the right questions, Anakin tells them about Order 66, about the choice he made, about the darkness he felt and rejected, and he tells them the most important lesson he learned. The Force offers you power, he says. The dark side offers you easy answers to hard problems. And there will be moments in your life when those offers seem tempting, when you're afraid or angry or desperate. But remember that every choice matters. Every moment when you choose the light over the darkness, kindness over cruelty, selflessness over selfishness, those choices add up. They define who you are. I made terrible choices and then I made one good choice that saved thousands of lives. But I would trade all of that to have not made the terrible choices in the first place. So don't be me. Be better than me. In the Force prison where Palpatine remains in stasis, time passes without meaning. He's aware, trapped in his own mind, unable to act or communicate or use the Force. He dreams of the Empire that should have been, of his enforcer Vader crushing rebellions, of a galaxy united under his rule. But those dreams are all he has. The galaxy outside his prison has moved on. The Sith are truly extinct now. The rule of two ended with him. There are no apprentices waiting to free him, no secret followers planning his return. He's simply a relic, a warning, a monster in a cage. The Jedi who guard the facility sometimes wonder if his consciousness suffers in the stasis. If he's in pain, trapped with only his own thoughts for eternity. Most decide they don't care. This is mercy compared to what he deserves. Compared to what he did to the galaxy, Obi-Wan Kenobi eventually retires from active Jedi service. His last words are to Luke and Leia, now adults with families and responsibilities of their own. The Force will be with you, he tells them. Always. Choose the light, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard, that's all that matters. And then Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, the man who stopped Order 66, the Jedi who pulled back from the darkness at the last possible moment, passes into the Force. His body fades, becoming energy and light, joining with Obi-Wan and Yoda and all the Jedi who came before. He's one with the Force now, forever part of the cosmic balance he spent his life maintaining. The galaxy mourns Anakin Skywalker's passing. Jedi from across the Republic return to Coruscant for his funeral. Clone veterans gather to honor the man who freed them from their programming. Padme, still alive and formidable in her old age, speaks about her husband's journey from darkness to light. The funeral is attended by thousands, from powerful senators to ordinary beings who benefited from Anakin's service. But the most moving moment comes when a group of Jedi younglings, children who never met Anakin but learned his story, recite the lesson he taught. Every choice matters. Choose the light. Be better. These words, his legacy, echo across the temple plaza. In the years following Anakin's death, his story takes on almost mythic proportions. He's remembered not as the chosen one of prophecy, though he was that, but as the man who made the right choice in the crucial moment, who faced his darkest impulses and turned away, who saved the Jedi Order by saving himself. Artists create works depicting his choice in Palpatine's office, that frozen moment when he could have become Vader but chose to stop Order 66 instead. Philosophers debate the nature of redemption using his life as a case study, and every year on the anniversary of Order 66, the Jedi Order observes a moment of silence. They mourn the 73 who died before Anakin's intervention. They honor the thousands who survived because of him, and they remember the lesson that even in the darkest moment, even when evil seems to have won, one person making one choice can change everything. The Jedi Temple on Coruscant maintains a memorial wall listing every Jedi who died during the Clone Wars and Order 66. 73 names are marked with a special designation, indicating they fell to Order 66 itself. And at the top of the wall in large letters is a quote from Anakin Skywalker. "I made terrible choices, and then I made one good choice that saved thousands of lives. But I would trade all of that to have not made the terrible choices in the first place. So don't be me. Be better than me." It's a humble memorial from a man who never wanted to be remembered as a hero. But it's perfect. It captures the essence of Anakin's journey and the lesson the Jedi learned from near extinction. That perfection isn't required, that everyone will face moments of darkness, but that the choice to turn back, to choose the light, is always available. Luke Skywalker, carrying on his father's work, eventually becomes Grand Master of the Jedi Order. He leads with the wisdom his father taught him, the understanding that Jedi are not perfect beings above attachment and emotion, but flawed individuals who must constantly choose the light over the darkness within them. Under his leadership, the Order continues to evolve. Jedi are encouraged to maintain relationships with non-Force sensitives to remain connected to the broader galaxy. The old isolation is gone forever. The Jedi are part of the Republic they serve, not separate from it, and the memory of how they nearly fell, how they were saved by one man's desperate choice, keeps them grounded. Leia Skywalker becomes Chancellor of the Republic in her later years, following in her mother's footsteps. She governs with Padme's political skill and Anakin's intensity, creating a legacy of strong, ethical leadership. She uses her Force sensitivity to enhance her diplomatic work, sensing deception, understanding emotions, finding common ground between opposing factions. She's not a Jedi, never formally joined the Order, but she embodies Jedi principles in her own way: service, compassion, justice. Her chancellorship is remembered as a time of stability and prosperity, proof that the lessons learned from Palpatine's conspiracy created a better government. A century after Order 66, the galaxy is unrecognizable from the one Palpatine nearly destroyed. The Republic has expanded, incorporating new species and worlds. Technology has advanced. Art and culture flourish. The Jedi Order numbers in the tens of thousands, serving across countless worlds. And the memory of the Clone Wars, of Order 66, of Palpatine's conspiracy, is taught in every school, not as ancient history, but as a recent and relevant warning. This is what happens when power is concentrated, when checks and balances are eroded, when people stop paying attention, when evil wears a friendly face and promises easy solutions. The galaxy nearly fell. It was saved by the thinnest of margins. And that salvation came from one man choosing the light in his darkest moment. In the end, the question of what if Order 66 was stopped by Anakin leads to a simple answer. The galaxy survived. Not unchanged, not without scars, but survived. The Jedi Order reformed and grew stronger. The Republic learned from its failures and built something better. Millions of beings who would have died under the Empire lived full lives. Luke and Leia were born into freedom instead of tyranny. And Anakin Skywalker, who could have become the galaxy's greatest monster, instead became its unlikely savior. Not because he was perfect or predestined, but because in one crucial moment when darkness called and light seemed impossible, he made the right choice. And that choice, that single decision to stop Order 66 instead of following Palpatine, changed everything. The Force was balanced not through destruction but through redemption, and the galaxy, grateful and vigilant, remembered.